Well, the time has come, and Tom Burns is here on our show today. I'm excited for our conversation. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brett.
Could you give the listeners just a little brief description of where you started and where you're at now?
Sure. I grew up in Austin, Texas, and an athlete playing sports, and found out nobody was going to pay me for it, so I decided to become a doctor, a sports doctor. I was an orthopedic sports medicine specialist, and in my training, I just, for various reasons, realized that I probably needed a little something extra rather than all medicine to take care of my needs. The people that I was watching, the people that were training me, weren't as happy as I wanted to be. And they were complaining and moaning about their lives. And I thought, boy, I don't necessarily want their money if I have to have their lives. So I went looking for something extra. I landed on real estate and passive income. And then just slowly, as I built my orthopedic surgeon career, I also built a real estate career at the same time. Both worked out very nicely. One complemented the other. As I started making more money in real estate, I was able to curate my medical practice to where I enjoyed it. So, Brett, I was blessed. I got to have a wonderful medical practice that I enjoyed. I did 12 years of it when I didn't need the money. I did the last 4 years for free. And all that was because I was able to create passive income primarily from real estate investments. So that just gave me the chance to hit my hot buttons. I know you and your son talked about the toys you like to buy. Well, I like to travel. I like to meet people. I like to play music, and you can see that guitar in the background. So the passive income and that sort of lifestyle has given me time to do that. So blessed and grateful for where I am.
What was that first step for that mindset shift for you?
And it's part of that story. There was something in that story, and then something that reinforced it. So, for lack of a better word, my plan was to be happy. My wife and I literally sat down before we got married and said, whatever we do, whatever troubles we're going to go through, we're going to find a way to be happy and enjoy life. I know that sounds Pollyanna-ish, but that was our plan. So, in the middle of my doctor training, as I was learning to be an orthopedic surgeon, I did see these doctors, and they're supposed to represent me in 10, 20, 30 years. And they were not happy. Most of them were divorced. They were moaning and complaining about not having control. They were in the hospital late at night. That didn't seem like very good family environment. So that's what triggered me to start thinking and looking for something else. So that was probably the biggest trigger. I thought, I don't want that to be me in 20 years. And then as I learned more, I read. There was no, I'll date myself, but there was no internet. There were no seminars, no podcasts. I basically had books and people that might have done this stuff. So I did that. And then I started my practice. And here's a story that I think it's in the book, but I started a practice, and within the first few months, I sat down with my new partner, who was probably 10 or 15 years ahead of me. And he sat down and truly said, and he had an enviable practice. Everybody wanted his practice. All the hospitals loved him because he brought a lot of business, which was great. So success in the doctor world, right? He sat down across his desk and talked to me and said, well, Tom, he said, my kids are now teenagers. They're in high school. He said, I spent so long building this practice that I didn't get to spend as much time with them as I wanted to. Now I'm trying to reconnect, and it's not working. And I swear the guy broke down in tears. And so that was the reinforcement that let me know that I'm never going to let that happen. And so really before I even had the money to do it, I was making sure I was home early and watching the kids get off the bus and spending time with the kids. And so I would sacrifice income or revenue to spend time with the kids. And that investment has paid off handsomely over the last 3 decades. Things do go bad, and you might be in a really bad spot, but you can at least tell yourself that, hey, I'm going to find a way out of this. You can make mistakes. I have had lots of mistakes. They say the guy that makes the most mistakes is the most successful. I'm not the most successful, but I'm up there as far as the most mistakes made, probably. But I've also got these gray hairs, and I can tell you through personal experience that most of my mistakes have ended up creating, the downtimes, the mistakes, the difficulties. They've ended up either creating lessons or something that happens better in the future. I know it sounds like I'm making that up, but given enough time, there's always something good that happens. So now when something really bad happens. And I had kind of a rough year last year, and I remember telling my wife, I don't know what the lesson's going to be, but boy, I sure hope this thing comes pretty soon, because this is not fun.
Yes.
So if you're relatively confident that something good's going to come out of it, that'll help you move forward, and that'll probably spur you to find the solutions to get out of that problem. If you're actively buying stuff, it could be a good thing and a bad thing if you don't do the right diligence buying your own little first house, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all a matter of education, kind of education and your network and your experience. So you mentioned it, vetting the sponsors and doing the diligence. Whether you're buying a one-bedroom condominium or you're buying a multi-family apartment complex, you want to do the diligence on the property. Likewise, if somebody else is doing that and they're taking your money to help do that, you want to make sure that you're with somebody that cares about your money as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we know, there are a lot of personality types out there, and there's a lot of levels of experience. And the last 12 years have birthed a lot of people that have had no experience in downtimes in the world of real estate, and that's what's causing some trouble that you mentioned. And then there's another subset of people that don't necessarily care as much about your money as you do, and they have different motives, and you've got to watch out for them. And so it's helpful to, you certainly, especially as doctors get targeted a bit, because doctors make a reasonable income, very nice professional income. And so you just want to make sure it's somebody that's got a bit of a track record, hopefully maybe somebody that's actually been through a recession or two. That helps. If not, then you need to have a little better handle on the numbers and the underwriting and be able to understand what they're projecting their property's going to do, and kind of go from there. It's difficult sometimes to determine whether they're not as on the level as you would like.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, there are people out there that are just out there to get your money. It's a small subset, but they're real.
Yeah.
The rest of them are just possibly inexperienced, and then there are those that are quite experienced. So you want to don't just follow somebody because your friend's doing it. You want to make sure that somebody cares about the money you're giving.
If you could go back 15 years and set beside a person who's on that path, what would you tell them today, Tom?
Sound pretty bland and blunt, but I'd tell them to start creating some passive income. Because now that doesn't make you happy, but that certainly is one of the tools. What is it? Zig Ziglar said, money's not the most important thing in the world, but it's right up there with oxygen, right? So money helps. Money gives you choices. I would start that and just do it on a habitual basis. Find a way to have discretionary money set aside to invest. Not whatever you want to invest in. You can invest in bonds or debt funds or real estate or VC funds, whatever you choose. And then because over time, that's going to compound and grow and give you more choices in what you do in your life. And I think those choices can give you more happiness, more joy, and I mean, now we're getting all philosophical, but happiness is not necessarily a destination. It's a thought process, right? It's part of the journey. So you can choose to enjoy what you're doing, and that passive income might help you eliminate the things you don't enjoy about your journey, and you can continue to sort of add blocks and take away blocks and make life at least as close to your ideal as you want. You never get an ideal life.